Welcome to ExpressBook Insights, where we share knowledge and grow together. Today, we will go through the book Rapport, the 4 ways to read people. The book offers a series of key skills for difficult dialogues and communication, helping you control conversations as you wish and build rapport with anyone. The authors of the book, Laurence Alison and Emily Alison, husband and wife, are forensic psychology instructors who have long provided consulting and training for police departments, security agencies, the FBI, and the CIA, with 30 years of experience and over 2,000 hours interrogating terrorists. The Allisons have developed an effective communication model useful not just in interrogations, but in everyday conflict resolution. In daily life, we face tough communication scenarios like setting boundaries with colleagues, connecting with uncommunicative teenagers, or handling poor service. The book emphasizes the importance of establishing rapport in these interactions. Rapport, a state of mutual understanding, facilitates smoother communication and cooperation. This skill is vital for expanding social networks, transforming adversaries into allies, or gaining information from uncooperative individuals. I'll highlight how to handle complex communications, focusing on 3 key parts of the book. Part 1. Engage in positive interaction using the HERE principle. Part 2. Understand the 4 animal models and their mechanisms. Part 3. How to use the animal model to enhance communication flexibility. First, let's look at the first key point, engaging in positive interaction using the HERE principle. HERE stands for honesty, empathy, autonomy, and reflection. To have good communication with others, these 4 principles are indispensable. The first principle is honesty. Most people think honesty means not playing tricks or deceiving others. But in the HERE principle, honesty leans more towards direct and objective expression. For example, regarding a challenging project at work, you had an idea and discussed it privately with a colleague. But during a meeting, your colleague presents the idea as their own without mentioning your contribution. Anyone would be angry in such a situation. If you confront them directly, it may lead to an awkward situation due to emotions. If you keep silent, you will feel aggrieved and the problem remains unsolved. What should you do? The correct approach is to adopt the principle of honesty, objectively state your demands directly, and express how their way of presenting the idea made it seem entirely their own, which angered you, especially since it was you who proposed these useful ideas and suggestions last week. Such candid communication is based on mutual respect and is more conducive to solving the problem. After honesty, let's talk about autonomy. Autonomy is a human instinct. Everyone has their desires and wants to freely control their fate. Therefore, the best way to persuade someone is to give them the choice to make their final decision. In 2010, Detective Smith of Wathar Police used this technique when interrogating a murderer. He did not use insults or violence. Instead, he first established empathy with the suspect, then created a sincere feeling and gave the suspect autonomy. The suspect eventually confessed voluntarily. Nobody likes to be manipulated. Giving the other person a sense of control and autonomy is an important secret to achieving easy communication and persuasion. Having discussed honesty and autonomy, let's focus on empathy and reflection. Empathy is to put yourself in the other person's shoes and imagine how you would feel if you experienced the same thing. For some people who are naturally more sensitive and attentive, this may be easy. But for others who cannot naturally empathize, some external techniques might be helpful. For instance, the most common one is to try to confirm the other person's feelings when they tell us about their situation. For example, if a friend tells you, "I'm not sure if my marriage will last," what should you respond? Should you say, "Don't think too much, just live your life," or if it doesn't work, just get a divorce? The principle of empathy requires us not to judge the other person's view but to try to respond to their feelings. For example, you can say, "What happened? You must feel very tormented recently." At this time, the other person may agree with your statement, admitting that they are indeed very tormented. Or they might say, "Well, it's not to the point of torment, but I just feel more and more reluctant to stay at home recently." No matter the response, it will allow you to further understand their thoughts. This is the basic function of empathy. It allows the other person to reveal more information to us, deepening the conversation step by step. In general, how do we use the principle of empathy in conflicting situations, where one wants to go east and the other west? For instance, one morning, your 3-year-old child insists on wearing a green dinosaur top to the kindergarten, but that top was just washed and is still wet. If you simply brush it off, The child may cry and throw a tantrum and won't listen. You can change your approach and say, "Baby, I know you love that top the most. You'll be unhappy if you don't wear it." Right? If the child nods, continue by saying, "But baby, that top is still wet. It will be uncomfortable to wear. I promise to dry it today so you can wear it tomorrow, for today. You can choose one from the other 20 dinosaur top. This way, we won't be late, okay?" This conversation includes the key to applying the principle of empathy in conflicting situations. Acknowledge the other person's feelings before explaining your point of view. This will allow the other person to let down their defensive emotions and better receive the information you want to convey. However, sometimes you may find it difficult to empathize with the other person, meaning you can't guess their thoughts or feelings. Many parents face this feeling when dealing with their teenage children. For example, if you notice that your 13-year-old son has suddenly become sullen and uncommunicative, spending all day in his room playing with his phone, you might be worried and want to talk to him at this time. Some parents might call the child out and directly ask, "What's wrong with you recently? Did you have a conflict with a friend?" The child says no. "Were you bullied at school?" No. "Did the teacher criticize you?" No. Then is it because you didn't do well in the recent exam? At this point, the child may already be impatient and might stand up and tell you to stop worrying unnecessarily, insisting that he is fine. As you can see in the conversation, the parent preemptively guessed the child's situation and tried to verify these guesses through a barrage of questions. This is a common approach, but often does not yield the desired results. The authors suggest that we use a combination of empathy and autonomy. For example, you can say, "I've noticed that you seem a bit unhappy these days, and don't talk much. Always staying by yourself. If you want to talk, you can come to me anytime. I promise not to yell or get angry." This conversation uses empathy and autonomy at this time. Empathy can be just an objective description of what you see in the other person's overall state, telling them that you have noticed their changes and are concerned. Autonomy means inviting them to talk to us, while also giving them the freedom to refuse. The authors say that at this time, you are essentially opening a crack in their inner door. Even if they don't immediately open their hearts to you, they will naturally come to you when they are ready. Understanding does not mean you have to agree. You just need to listen patiently and curiously, without commenting. If you want to build rapport with the other person, or even guide their behavior, understanding them more is a must. Having discussed the first three treasures of the HERE principle: honesty, autonomy, and empathy, let's talk about the fourth and most powerful one: reflection. The key to reflection is to listen carefully to what the other person says. Then find the key information you want to delve into and paraphrase or restate it. This might sound simple, but it's not easy in practice. For example, how do you choose the key information? And how do you paraphrase it appropriately? Let me explain in detail how to do this. First, let's look at an example of sorting out information. Suppose a boyfriend tells the girlfriend, "I know we've discussed marriage and living together, but I don't think the timing is right now. I think the way we are now is pretty good." If the girl is not good at reflection, she might snap back, "What? If not right now, when will it be right? I think you just don't want to be with me." But a girl who is good at reflection will pick up on the keywords that represent the boy's attitude in his words and paraphrase them to further understand his thoughts. For example, she can say, "You think the timing is not right now," or "So, you feel that the way things are now is pretty good." After saying this, the boy might explain that he is very busy with work now, and living in his own house close to the company is convenient for commuting. He prefers to work hard for 2 years, save enough for a down payment, and then buy a new house together, rather than rushing to rent a house together now. This answer might not completely satisfy the girl, but it does allow her to understand the boy's thoughts better. In this way, she can realize that the boy's desire to continue living separately is due to practical considerations instead of thinking he doesn't love her. Let's look at another example in the book. The girlfriend tells the boyfriend, "I feel I need to pay more attention to my diet and exercise more, but I'm very busy every day and don't have much free time. I don't think I can do it." The boy says, "How busy can you be? You finished watching an entire TV series this week. If you really want to exercise, you can definitely make time." This response is obviously wrong because he is not encouraging the other person but trying to make her feel ashamed. The authors say shame does not bring change. It only makes the other person feel attacked, leading to resistance or self-isolation. How should you use the reflection principle? It's simple. Recall that the girl's words actually contain a contradiction, which is the key information in this conversation. The boy just needs to restate this contradiction, saying, "You are indeed under a lot of pressure and tired every day, but you do need a healthy diet. and regular exercise to avoid ruining your health. Note that when pointing out the contradiction, you need to maintain a curious and tolerant attitude and avoid criticizing the other person. The authors found in their observations of interrogations that if the interrogator presents a piece of evidence and questions the suspect, "Is it really as you said? How do you explain this evidence?" the suspect often stops cooperating. The same is true in real life. Don't corner the other person. Otherwise, they will refuse to cooperate, close themselves off, and withdraw from the conversation. Now, let's go back to the example. After hearing the boy's reflection, the girl might further discuss her current conflicting emotions. She might say, "Last year, I used to go to the gym 3 times a week and ate very healthily. I felt great during that time, and really want to return to that lifestyle. But now, it feels like my heart is willing, but my strength is not enough." In this conversation, we can capture some positive and uplifting information. Then, in the following reflection, we can consciously reinforce these positive aspects. For instance, the boy could say, "Yes, that healthy lifestyle does have many benefits. You really put in a lot of effort last year. If you still want to return to that state, why not start with 1 or 2 small things?" Many studies in behavioral psychology have shown that reinforcing positive behavior, as opposed to criticizing negative actions, is more effective in changing our behavior. So, an important feedback method is to unearth those positive messages hidden in the other person's words, and then reinforce them to help them overcome the negative ones. The last reflection skill is interpretation and summarization. This requires us to help summarize the deep thoughts the other person wants to express based on their words. Continuing with the conversation of the couple. After listening to the boy, the girl says, "Yes, we can start with 1 or 2 small things. Do you have any suggestions?" The boy suggests, "Maybe you can start by cutting out late-night snacks." The girl becomes unhappy and says, "I work overtime every day and get very hungry at night. Are you saying I'm fat? I saw you talking to Amy the other day. She does have a good figure. Do you like her style?" The author advises not to directly answer yes or no to such questions, nor to argue. You should think about what she really wants to hear. Does she really want you to admit whether you like her friend or not? What is she actually trying to express and care about? The appropriate feedback for the boy could be, "Listen, I know you're feeling a bit down about yourself right now, but I have to tell you, my feelings for you haven't changed at all. Even if you do gain weight in the future, I'll still only like you." In this way, he addresses the real concerns of the girl, not just what she verbally asks. The author notes that interpretation and summarization are the most challenging among all reflection skills, requiring a lot of practice in the process. You can often use phrases like "it seems you feel," or "it looks like you care about," which can make the other person feel that you care and understand them. We've discussed many reflection skills, and their key lies in not rushing to judge what the other person says, but to find key information you want to understand further, and then rephrase it. When we do this, we are actually guiding the other person to engage in deeper conversation, further revealing their situation or thoughts. This way, we can gather as much information as possible to help steer the conversation in the direction we hope for. Mastering the HER principle can significantly enhance communication across various relationships and environments. However, adapting to different people and contexts is crucial, since each requires unique communication approaches. Let's delve into understanding the 4 animal models and their mechanisms in communication.
The 4 animal models are control lion, capitulate mouse, confront Tyrannosaurus rex, and cooperate monkey. Each model is employed in communication, possessing both positive and negative traits. Effective communication involves maximizing these positive traits while minimizing the negative ones. The Tyrannosaurus rex style is frank and direct. When facing conflict, it's useful to set boundaries and clarify the bottom line. The advantage of this style is clear. It allows the other party to understand your thoughts and not take you lightly. However, it can become overly aggressive. They might not control their temper well when talking to others, and may resort to sarcasm, scolding, or threatening. Such behavior often does not help to solve problems. For instance, Emily, one of the authors of this book, sometimes exhibits the negative traits of a Tyrannosaurus rex. Once, when her family went on vacation, they stayed in an apartment opposite a construction site with loud noise every day. Emily called the front desk angrily, complaining loudly and demanding an immediate solution. The front desk said they were powerless but promised to have the manager call them back. However, an hour passed without a call. Therefore, Laurence, Emily's husband and the other author of this book, decided to try a different approach. He recorded the construction noise on his tablet and then approached the reception desk. He politely greeted the receptionist and mentioned the welcome letter they received upon check-in, which promised a relaxing and enjoyable stay despite minor ongoing maintenance in some areas of the resort. The receptionist nodded in agreement, but then Laurence played the recording of the noise. The receptionist's expression changed, and after the playback, Laurence calmly asked if this was considered a minor impact. The receptionist admitted it was not. Eventually, they met with the manager, and after repeating the same action, they negotiated a switch to another resort village with a 50% discount and additional bonus points. Throughout the interaction, Laurence did not yell or attack the other party, but calmly and objectively pointed out the problem and expressed his demands. This proved to be more effective than Emily's previous angry and aggressive approach. The authors note that in work and life, emotional and aggressive expression is not only unhelpful in solving problems, but can also destroy normal interpersonal relationships, leading us into isolation. Therefore, to be a positive Tyrannosaurus Rex, you need to express your views as clearly and calmly as possible without using any insulting or aggressive language. Regardless of how angry the other party gets, do not engage. Your goal is to make them hear your voice and understand your bottom line, not to win an argument or vent emotions if possible. It's best to organize your language in advance and practice with someone you trust. This rehearsal process can help dissolve a lot of emotions and maintain rationality in subsequent interactions. Now, let's talk about the lion. The lion excels in providing clear guidance and leadership, suitable for managers or parents. However, some lions might impose their will on others or be overly concerned and controlling. These are negative traits. For example, some children may feel that their parents are constantly giving them orders. Have you finished your homework? Did you drink your milk? Did you brush your teeth? Did you understand that math problem? How many points did you get in your composition? Similarly, in companies, some leaders might tightly control their subordinates, constantly making demands and monitoring their daily work completion. The authors say this type of interaction can cause resistance in others and stifle their ability to think independently. The ideal lion-type communication is to take a leading role in communication without being authoritarian, while influencing and guiding others. They do not force them to comply with everything. For example, parents should give their children more autonomy in minor matters and spend more time understanding their thoughts, communicating with encouragement rather than commands. Leaders do not need to micromanage everything. They can empower their subordinates, give them a certain degree of autonomy, recognize the strengths of each team member, and consciously cultivate deputies. Additionally, the book tells us that the monkey communication style is also a good choice for managers or parents. The positive trait of the monkey is being friendly, warm, and good at cooperation, which helps build good cooperative relationships and strengthens the internal connections of a team. To cultivate a monkey-type communication style, you can try the 3-step method. The first step is listening. You should try to find out their interests and values from their words, getting more information about them. The second step is sharing, which involves sharing similar experiences. Research has found that this can strengthen the bonds between people, making them closer. You can find similarities with the other party during the listening process, or start from experiences that most people have gone through, such as holidays, work, and family. The third step is guiding. After the first 2 steps, you should have discovered the other party's points of interest. At this point, you can use the feedback skills we mentioned earlier to guide the conversation. During the process, you can also share your own stories or experiences. But remember, the art of conversation is not about saying the right thing, but about listening in simple terms. It's about listening more and talking less. This is the essence of the monkey-type communication style. The authors suggest that we can allocate listening and talking time at a ratio of 21 or 31. The better you are at listening and providing reflection, the more willing others will be to share with you, deepening your understanding of them and facilitating better cooperation. However, friendly, warm, and cooperative monkeys also have shortcomings. They can easily blur boundaries with others. Once boundaries are lost and everyone gets too familiar, it becomes difficult to point out problems, making management or cooperation challenging. Therefore, while being friendly and cooperative, it's also important to maintain clear boundaries. For example, don't discuss too many personal matters with colleagues. Don't indulge children in everything, and set clear rules and boundaries. If you find yourself in a situation where boundaries are blurred, and it's difficult to point out problems to others, you might need to borrow some Tyrannosaurus Rex-style communication. For example, if it's a subordinate or colleague, you can say that you value your friendship with them and enjoy the honesty between you, but you must point out existing problems and then present your ideas. The authors say that although the situation might be a bit awkward, it's better than letting the other party blur boundaries and leave problems unresolved. True friends will respect your stance and not exploit the relationship. If this respect is lacking, it may be time to reevaluate the relationship. Finally, let's talk about fourth communication style, the mouse. The key is to let the other party take control, while you are willing to follow and make concessions. The authors say that the mouse is one of the most important communication styles for building rapport. They found that the most excellent interrogators showed respect and humility towards their subjects, no matter how much they disliked them or wanted to bring them to justice. For example, they once observed an interrogation that typified the advantages of the mouse. In this interrogation, a small-statured interrogator faced a muscular, hairy suspect with a history of violence. This suspect was known for being tight-lipped and often interrupted and was rude to interrogators. This time, when faced with this new interrogator, he was sarcastic, saying, "I know you have a list of questions in your notebook. Your task is to ask these questions. I know you want to trap me. We have nothing to talk about." Surprisingly, the interrogator was very calm. He opened his notebook in front of the suspect. Revealing blank pages, he said, "I don't have any list. I just want to hear what you were planning." The suspect snorted and said, "Fine, then you first answer me. Why should I cooperate with you?" The interrogator was silent for 10 seconds and then calmly said, "The day the police arrested you, I suspected you wanted to murder police academy students. I don't know exactly what happened or why you had to do it. Only you know. I want to know the answer. Not because I want to please my superiors, but because I want to protect the public. I won't force you to tell me. The choice is in your hands." The suspect paused for a while and then said, "Well, then I will tell you, but only to help you understand what's happening in this country." Why was the interrogator successful in talking to the suspect? The authors believe it's because he didn't try to control the suspect. Clearly, the suspect wanted to be the dominant party in the conversation. Like a lion, and the interrogator satisfied him. He remained calm, patient, and humble throughout, like a mouse, waiting for the lion to enter the cage. We find that to be a positive mouse. The key is to use the tool of autonomy that we talked about in the first part. Autonomy here does not equal weakness. It is a low-key but powerful skill. It can make the other party feel in control of the situation, lowering their guard, and even actively providing information or making concessions. However, the mouse also has some negative traits, such as hesitation, weakness, and retreat. If a manager has these traits, it will be difficult to keep a team or project in an orderly state. Therefore, the authors say that, although you can let others lead the conversation, you cannot appear weak. You should use good feedback strategies during the listening process to guide the direction of the conversation. And when you need to show your leadership, decisiveness, and confidence, you can abandon the mouse mode and instead play the role of a positive lion or monkey.
Now, you may already be clear about which animal type you most often play, and where you need to develop and improve. The authors emphasize that in terms of the positive traits of each animal, there's no most positive one in reality. Each communication style has its place. The key is whether you can adopt the appropriate communication style according to different scenarios. How can we adeptly switch between different communication styles to confidently handle various situations? Let's explore this in part 3. Enhancing communication flexibility with the animal model. Interpersonal communication skills hinge on 3 key aspects: self-control, sensitivity, and flexibility. Mastering these allows for more effective communication. Self-control: this involves restraining from displaying the negative traits of the 4 animal types during interactions. It's crucial to manage impulses, particularly in high-stress situations like first dates or job interviews. While perfection isn't the goal, reducing errors is. If a negative trait surfaces, promptly correct it and shift to the positive counterpart. Sensitivity: this is about quickly identifying the communication model the other person uses, recognizing whether they are a lion, mouse, monkey, or T-Rex helps you understand their communication intent, whether to lead, follow, argue, or cooperate. If you encounter a negatively inclined person, like a lion, invest time and effort to guide them towards a more positive approach. Practice this skill in everyday life, from observing TV characters to interacting with colleagues. The more you practice, the better you become at rapidly and accurately understanding others. Flexibility involves adapting your communication style to fit the situation. Often, we gravitate towards a particular animal model, but the ability to switch styles as needed is crucial. For instance, if you're naturally a lion but dealing with another lion, switching to a mouse mode might be effective. Think of this as exercising a muscle, regularly challenging and strengthening it. To develop this muscle, first, identify your weak areas. Focus more on improving these rather than showcasing strengths. Regular interaction with different people offers the best training ground for enhancing your interpersonal skills. Persistence in these practices leads to smoother and more effective communication. In summary, the book covers the here principle for positive interaction encompasses honesty, empathy, autonomy, and reflection. The 4 animal models in communication are T-Rex, mouse, lion, and monkey, and using positive methods to address communication challenges. Enhancing communication flexibility by developing self-control, sensitivity, and flexibility. That concludes Rapport, the 4 ways to read people. What are your thoughts or insights after listening to this book? Feel free to comment and share. If you found today's content useful, share it with family and friends. See you next time.